go where your best prayers take you. Unclench the fists of your spirit and take it easy. Breathe deeply of the glad air and live one day at a time. Know that you are precious and learn to trust. Amen. Well, good morning to all of you and happy Father's Day. You all look dressed and neat. And now I'm going to get to do something I've wanted to do for a very long time. Got my selfie stick. Here we go. I've got it set on the timer. Okay, choir, sorry, you aren't going to be in this one. All right, 10. Smile, it's going to be on Facebook, not kidding. You better smile. My father-in-law smile, quit doing that. See, I'm smiling. Yay. Do you know, well, I've been out of the country, and some of us that travel together, I've never seen so many things like I've seen there. But I saw this, and I bought one. I saw one, and then I saw 1,000, and then I saw 250 million of them. It's called a selfie stick. You know what it is? The young crew, yeah. The rest of you are going like, what is he doing? It holds your cell phone, so see, you can take your own picture better. Isn't that cool? It's really cool. I like it. I'll sell it to you. I bought it for €4, but it's up for sale today. Now, somebody will probably call in on my phone. What are you doing? You've lost your mind. No, it was really fascinating. I really was able to see some of the great antiquities in Europe and great churches. But what was amazing to me, the selfie was the it. You get that experience today? Somebody was saying, I saw all of those at Disney World. Well, I would expect it at Disney World, but I don't expect it in front of Michelangelo's Moses. But you saw it. I mean, it was amazing. Everybody was doing selfies, and these things were for sale everywhere. And maybe I'm getting old or something, but I started thinking about it. I really did. It got in my mind just a little bit about what is this about? I get taking pictures. You take pictures, right? We take a ton of pictures, and on our trips, and I've always laughed, it's that Jimmy Buffett song, I'll look at them if I ever slow down. We all do that. There's a real truth to that, but there is something else going on with the selfie. Can you turn me down just a smidgen? Yeah, thank you. There's something else going on. And Tom experienced it in France and said it was just everywhere in Paris. And I said, it just kind of caught me because it was so overwhelming. And I guess what I thought about was, here you are to see the art and archaeology and the history of humanity that brings out something so strong in you. And what's the most important thing is this selfie. And it just, I don't know, started knocking around in my head. And again, there's nothing wrong with the pictures. I think it's wonderful. But I wonder if the selfie isn't a great metaphor for our time, a commentary on who we are. I don't know. There's so much emphasis on me. And yet I'm standing in front of the Michelangelo's Moses. Well, there's nothing wrong with the self, right? You better have one, and you better have a pretty strong one. But how much self do you need? How much do you need? Great question for us to ask ourselves today. How much is enough of a self? How much emphasis on me do I need in order to be okay? Do you know StoryCorps? That wonderful thing that's going on across the nation? A project to record simple stories told, and they're always relational. Almost never are they single. Of two people talking about something very ordinary. And all these stories are being archived into the Library of Congress. If you want to look on web at the NPR site, and you'll just have lists of them. And I'm telling you, you will just start playing one after another. So I have one for you now. And it's a Father's Day one. Mario Lasso, who's a Haitian immigrant, now an American citizen, is being interviewed by his 9-year-old daughter, Mabu. And Mario works 2 jobs, sometimes 3, for his daughter's education, because even at 9, Mabu is a wizard. She is already studying and passing college algebra. So she's a prodigy. So he works more than 2 jobs to pay for her tutoring. So here's the interview. Mabu starts. Daddy, how did it feel when I was born? Sweetheart, you were a dream come true. I wanted a child so much, and when I saw you in the nursery, I could not touch me so deeply, and you were asleep, and then you opened your eyes and you looked right at me, and the doctor was standing beside me, and he said, look, she's already connected to you. Daddy, that's because I love you so much. But I don't understand. Mama said you cried a lot. I did. Tears of joy. I was so happy. And then you cried a lot and screamed when you brought you home. You screamed and cried all the time. But it was like sunshine had come to our house. But why do you not stay home more? Why do you leave so much and not stay with me? Well, sweetheart, it's because I have to work 2 jobs. And I would work 5 or 6 or 10 if I had to. It is a joy being able to pay for your education, a joy knowing that I am doing for you because I am so proud of having you as my daughter. It is Father's Day. And I know one thing, that most dads, almost without exception, that I have known, and maybe it's just my experience, including my own father, live not for themselves, but for their children, their spouse, their family. Maybe it's just my experience, but I don't think so. The high majority of the fathers that I have known work and worry and strive and push all the time so that those they love will do better, live better, and be better. Almost every father that I know lives sacrificially. That's without exception. And that sacrifice is not devoid of self, but it is a self that is bound up in doing and living for someone else. A self whose meaning is enriched and enhanced and expanded by living with and for those they love. You see, today, on Father's Day, we could not have a better story from the gospel. It is one of my favorites, my very favorites. The disciples, after a long day of work, they've been out preaching and teaching, and now what do? They get in the boat, and they are rowing across the Sea of Galilee, the northern shore. I want you to get the image, the northern shore. And as happens there all the time, even till today, the wind comes over the Syrian hills and starts blowing down the hillside onto the lake. And this inland lake actually gets standing waves. They'll go from 1 foot to 2 to 4 to 6 feet. 6 feet of standing waves for these young people in this wooden boat. And they are in peril. And they are afraid. Can they swim? How far from shore are they? How well can they swim if they can swim? We don't know, but they are afraid and have a right to be so. And Jesus is calm. He is so calm, he's asleep. But he wakes at their fear. He wakes and stills the waves. I know as a father, I have wanted to still the waves that have swamped my family's boat. I've wanted to protect my boys from the events and circumstances that might and did wash over them, to protect them from what was hurting, to carry them from one shore to another as if it was my job to do so, to stop the things that brought them anxiety and fear. And so often I could not. And I carry a lot of that deep inside, and I bet many of you do too. But you know, in retrospect, I should not have, and I know that now. You see, in this story, Jesus stops the storm, but I invite you to look at something deeper that is right there for us to see. Jesus leaves his own place of peace and calm so that he can be where the disciples are, to wake up and join them and be with them. You see, his presence is everything in this story. See, I know that fathers, and I speak to the dads and the men here, and maybe many of the women get this message too. Our job is to fix things, to make them okay. Men believe that that is their role in life and their role in families. But I think maybe something else is operative as well. That a good father is one who offers his presence to his children and to the people that he loves, regardless. Trying to offer himself. He doesn't and can't stop every storm. It doesn't happen. He cannot make all the waves go away, but he can be there when the waves do come, offering support and counsel and maybe a bit of wisdom, that there is something more important at play, to offer encouragement, to embrace life, to live life fully, to persevere and grow in the face of adversity, to take obstacles as the building blocks for character building, which is essential for good living, and to show how to live not only for yourself, but to build the self always in relationship to others. Isn't that what the world needs more of? Isn't that the world is hungry for that? For people who can actually live for someone else? We all have plenty of selfies that we carry around. I sure have my share. The world needs me. The world needs you to come beyond that selfie to where those are, to other people who can put themselves aside to be able to lift up another person, to support them, to make them feel special, important, and loved, and yes, walk with them sometimes in their journey. That's what we hope for. Well, can you suffer one more StoryCorps story? Albert Sykes is a young black father. He lives in Mississippi. I heard this months ago, and it was just electric to me. Albert has done well, is well educated, has a great job, and he now has a son named Aiden. And Aiden starts the interview on the StoryCorps. Dad, do you remember what was going on in your head when you first saw me? Oh, absolutely. I remember the doctor pulled you out, and the first thing that I thought was, he's being too rough with my boy. He smacked you with his 2 fingers on the tush, and then he jammed you in a blanket, and he handed you to me like a bottle of Sprite. And then I held you. And what I thought was, I have to raise a black boy in Mississippi. Daddy, is that why you take me to political rallies and do all that stuff with me? Yes, son, that's why I do that. I want you to look and see what it looks like when people can come together and work together, that there's something bigger in the world to live for. Daddy, are you proud of me? Of course, man, I'm proud of you. Your spirit, your personality, I love everything about you, period. Well, Dad, the thing I love about you is that you never give up on me. I will always remember that. Do you have any dreams for me? And then there's a long, long pause. And Albert then says this, yes, my dream for you is to live out your dreams. You know, Aiden, there's an old proverb that when a child is born, he or she comes into the world with fists closed, grasping tightly the gifts that God has given us. And as you grow, maybe you can learn to open your hands and release those gifts for the world to share. So Aiden, for the rest of your life, I want to see you live with your hands unfolded. Is that not a great image to give Lucas? To live beyond this day of baptism with his hands unfolded, open to the world, giving away what God has given him, what he will be able to share, be able to do, be able to learn, to live with his hands unfolded. And see, our job, all of us, is to be good fathers to him, men and women alike. All of us showing him, coaching him to give his gifts to the world, to not hold back, to not be afraid, teaching him to follow when it might be hard to follow, teaching him to learn to show up when we don't want to show up, teaching him to open his heart and soul and mind to things that he cannot comprehend when it's painful to do so, but life-giving to do so. To live for the welfare of another person. That's why we have brought Lucas today. And Catherine and Jonathan are going to need our help because they want that for him too. You can see it when they hold him. He's such a sweet little guy. And you can see them look at him with that longing of something for the future. You see, when Lucas does live that way, live with hands unfolded, he will find himself. And when he finds himself, he will find God. And then, hopefully, with our encouragement, he will offer that God to the people who need it around him. What a happy day. Amen.